I have tea, and today I'm going to talk about some experiences. Shit, I just spilled my tea. I'll be right back. So since I literally just spilled the tea, I might as well spill the tea with you. Today's going to be a little bit different than my regular videos. I want to talk about something that's kind of hard to talk about. I want to talk about the dark side of leadership and where things can go really wrong if you let it. If you let yourself fall into some traps and build some mindsets and beliefs around leadership, you can become a very manipulative person. Worse, you can even be hurt by other manipulative people if you're not aware of who they are, what they do, how they do it, and why they do what they do. So today, kind of a hard conversation, but I'm going to talk about some of my experiences with the dark side of leadership. If you've been following this channel at all, you know that I spend a lot of time talking about what it means to be an authentic, empathetic, and audacious leader. These are people who go out there and want to do great things for the world. They want to do great things for their team, for themselves, for their family, for their community. We generally are talking to and about people that want to do the right thing for everyone involved, and in the process of doing the right thing, be rewarded themselves for the benefits that they create. But there are people who just are in it for themselves, and there is a massive streak of narcissism throughout the corporate culture that, unfortunately, because of the way capitalism works, narcissists are sometimes rewarded even more so than the people who have the team and the company and the shareholders and the customers' thoughts and hearts more in mind than those manipulative people. Because at the end of the day, it's the bean counters who count everything and decide at the end of the day whether something works or doesn't. Which I have a whole theory about whether that's actually true or not. I think that we're missing an important part to business when we only focus on financial metrics and we don't focus on other metrics, the quality of life that we provide for our customer base over time. But that doesn't stop people from using manipulative tactics and doing things that are not in the best interests of the company, of the customers, of the vendors, and of the shareholders long term to get what they want done for themselves in the short term. And sometimes shareholders and owners see alignment with people like that, or they're manipulated themselves by people like that. Being a great leader is hard. It's really hard to put other people in front of yourself. It's really hard to balance the needs of the people in the company, the customers of the company, the vendors to the company, the regulators of the company, the shareholders of the company, the owners of the company, the executives of the company. When you think about all these things, it can be daunting to try to balance all of those things. And that's why it's easier for some people to just focus on themselves. And when they're rewarded for focusing on themselves, it empowers them to just lean into their bad behaviors and make things worse for everyone else while they make things great for themselves. Throughout my career, I have grown in empathy. In the early part of my career, I wasn't a very manageable person. I was very much interested in the good of everything for everyone, but I was very clear about how we were going to do it my way. As I grew and became more mature and found myself in executive roles, I found that audacity was certainly valuable, but empathy was also something that I needed. And so I leaned into that. And over the years, I've become far more attuned to the needs and desires of my team and the people I work with, my customers, and ultimately the owners of the business. And I find that empathy is a super important part in actually moving things forward, because you can have things my way or the highway for a while, but ultimately people are going to get tired of that, and they're going to find reasons to not have you on their team. It's actually harder to be empathetic and be a leader than it is to be unempathetic or manipulative and be a leader. When you're manipulative and you are self-centered, it's very easy because all the decisions that you have to think about are about what's in it for me. What's the best benefit for me? Do I get a bigger bonus right now if I kill the golden goose and take all the eggs out? Or if I do something now that's really great for our quarterly margins, but terrible for the long-term prospects of my organization? We are watching this live right now with Boeing. Think about what that company has done. In the 90s, Boeing was the pinnacle of engineering in the world. And as you can imagine, bean counters got involved. Acolytes of Jack Welch himself took over Boeing and stripped away the engineering skills of the company, retired out all of the engineers, sent engineering offshore and outside of the company. And guess what we have now? Planes falling out of the sky with holes in them. What a surprise. It's because people put quarterly profits and their own selfish interests in front of the needs of the long-term prospects of that company, those employees, and yes, the people who lost their lives. So as you can tell, I don't have a lot of patience or tolerance for manipulative people. I find them to be disgusting. And I think people who are selfish and self-centered and self-absorbed have no reason or right to be in leadership roles, which is why I teach how to be an authentic, empathetic, and audacious leader. I help people who are empathetic, that don't quite know how to become leaders, because I think they make better leaders than manipulators who learn their way through and up the organization. On some of my experiences that I've had throughout my career with manipulative leaders. And I'm going to tell you one story in particular that's still really hard for me to deal with. I've gotten over it and I've learned a lot from the experience. And quite honestly, that experience really defined my leadership style going forward. It polarized me so far away from the way that this person acted that it's actually made me a really great leader. And I don't say that to be arrogant. I say that to say that the way that I led after this experience, I use that experience as an example of what not to do and how not to treat people. And that led me to think very clearly about what other people would want from me as a leader. And that helped me actually become a better leader. So I'll share this experience with you. A couple of years ago, I had just wound down my second startup. And the story behind that one involves a covert narcissist co-founder who did a really good job of wrecking the company, left me without the technology and the product to sell. And I wound up having to wind the company down over time. And that was hard, but I wound up going back to work with a company that I had worked with in the past, and a person had joined that company in the meantime while I was building my startup, someone I had known for almost 20 years and had a lot of respect and admiration for, and we had been friends. We had, done things throughout our careers together, so I really liked this person. He and I became fast friends while we were working together in this company, and we were a pair, basically peers, running around the country and the world together, building this company together, helping build, the stature of this business. And at times we were like, frickin' frack. We were really tight with each other, working on building this business around the world. And it was a lot of fun. And we talked about how we both wanted to grow in our careers. He really was interested in becoming the president of that company. My interest was in a technology that I was developing in the R&D group that I wanted to spin out into a new product and actually spin out into a separate company, go raise funding, and then go build some really cool antenna technology. So fast forward a couple of years of us working together this way, we have a conversation where I'm explaining to him this idea that I have for spinning out the company. And he said, kind of nonchalantly, well, I tell you what, how about we both spin it out? I'll be the CEO and you be the CTO, Tom. And I remember thinking no, I'm quite happy to be the CEO myself. And I thought you were excited about being the president of this larger company. And he made a face that I remember, but at the time I didn't really understand what had happened. He decided in that moment that he wanted my business and he wanted me gone. And everything that he did from that point forward led to that. So he said, okay, you're right. Let's just do it that way. And he asked me to help him get promoted so that he could move up in the organization. And then as he moved up, he would move up towards becoming the president long term. The owner was keen to step down at some point and be more of an owner instead of a president. And all of that made sense to me, and all of it made sense to most everyone. So I helped him. I talked with the owners and I talked with the leadership team, and I said, I think he would make a great person to run this. And everybody knew that my goal was to spin this out, including the owners. They were on board with the idea of me spinning out my technology. So it seemed like a win-win for everyone. He gets promoted and I take on this business and spin it out as a separate entity, right? Well, he gets promoted. And the very next day, he comes to my office and says, I am canceling your product development efforts. Instead, you are now going to focus on only selling this technology as a service. No more discussion of products. I don't want to hear it ever again. And I said, what do you mean? He said, we're not spinning this out. We're staying with this technology is now staying inside of the company and it's under my control. And I was floored. I was shocked and I was angry. A couple days later, he shows up in my office with a PIP, a performance improvement plan. And the PIP is very vaguely worded. There's no clear indications of me doing anything poorly. I was very good at my job and my team loved me and I was doing great things for the company, but he put me on a PIP specifically because he wanted me gone. So he gives me this PIP. I tear it up in front of him. I take it to the owner and I said, "You're not putting me on a PIP." The owner said, "Yeah, you're right. This is silly. This is stupid. Let's get rid of it. Let's just all work together." And so we go on for a couple of months with this very fractured friendship now, and we're having to work together. But as we go forward, he's taking all of these little things that he's doing and kind of turning the screws on me. So he's manipulating me. He's getting a rise out of me. He's getting anger out of me. He's changing the rules. He's changing the requirements. He's having people show up on conference calls with no name who are just listening in to my conference calls with my team so that they can understand what I'm doing. He's looking over my shoulder and he's also whispering in the ears of several of my friends that Tom needs to go. Well, he got his wish. On January 2nd, he called me and said, "You're fired." And I asked him, "Did the owners have a say in this?" And he said, "Yes." So that was it. I was fired from that company. I had to tell my team, and that was a very painful thing to do. I handed my laptop into, ironically, HR wasn't there that day because it was January 2nd. And so I handed my laptop into the front desk clerk, and she was floored that I was being fired, as was I. In the long term, my career worked out just fine. And, it's fine. But the thing is that he got what he wanted because what he had done was gone to the leadership team and told them, Tom is unstable. He's not, an effective leader because he's angry. And then on a conference call with them, he knew exactly how to push my buttons to get a rise out of me, to say the certain things that he needed to say so that he would get me to respond in anger back to him. And then he used that and said, "See, we have to get rid of him. If you want me to be the president of this company, then I need to be able to build my team." And the owner said, "You're right. You have to learn how to handle these kinds of situations yourself." And the owner let him fire me, and he did. But here's the beautiful part. About a year later, I find out that he is now spinning out my team, the antenna team that I had built, as his own. It's now his own business. He spun it out along with another technology that he was working on, took these two technologies, my team and another team, and spun them out as a separate entity, which was exactly what I was intending to do. He had decided a year ago that he wanted what I was building. And so he decided to take it from me, and he manipulated me and the leadership and everyone else in that company to make that happen. And then he spun this company out. And as narcissists do, they always get exposed for the frauds that they are. He ran that company right into the ground with an $8 million loss year over year for 2 years. I still don't understand how they were able to absorb that much loss, but he ran that company into the ground. The entire team dissipated. All of the customers left. There was whispers of fraud and other things going on in that company. And anyone who challenged him was immediately jettisoned from that business. At the end, when the company was it was clear that the thing was an absolute train wreck, he blamed the owner and then left in a cloud of smoke. He quit in shame, but he couldn't feel shame, so he had to blame it on everyone else. And now this business is basically defunct, and those great ideas are gone. Those great technologies are gone. That great team is gone. He was so petty that he took my name off of the patents that my team built. This is how petty this guy is. I tell this story not to get revenge on this person because I've long since forgiven him. One of the gifts that cancer gave me was, as I was sitting there in my bed thinking about, am I going to die? That helped me have perspective on life. And quite honestly, I've forgiven this guy. I have no intention of ever working with him or talking to him or accepting a conversation with him ever again, because I understand that manipulative people don't ever really change. They can't help themselves but to be this way. And so when you find people like this, you just have to give them a wide berth. But I've forgiven him. And, it's funny, I'm getting a little emotional thinking about it right now, but the truth is that I've kind of let it go because what I do now is so much more enjoyable and so much more true to who I am. But I bring this story up to mention that these manipulative people do exist and they do ruin careers. Manipulative people know how to manipulate the situation to their benefit. Eventually, always, they get found out for who they are, and then they have to go and pollute some other ecosystem that doesn't really know much about them. And then they do that there. This person that I'm talking about, he was found guilty of SEC fraud. And in doing so, I also found out that he had let go of 5 other VPs at a company he worked at in the past. I was one of 5 VPs that he got fired from this company. So now he's off somewhere else, probably trying to get rid of VPs so he can move up. It doesn't change. These people are what they are, and you have to learn how to avoid them. The most important thing is to never become one of them. You will see things online all the time, like Sigma male bullshit and other things about like how to manipulate your way to the top. Sure, yes, you can do that. There's even a book called The 48 Laws of Power that teach you 48 different manipulation tactics, where you do the thing where you shake someone's hand and you like shake their arm so violently that they're now physically afraid of you. They associate you with power or some bullshit like that. That is not leadership, that's manipulation. Now, if you want to go about your life being manipulative and using these mental tactics to change the world, to fit your needs because it's all about you, just unsubscribe from my channel and never talk to me, because you are the kind of person I never want to talk to. Now, the people that I want to talk to, the people that I want to help, are the ones who are as disgusted as I am by the behaviors of people like this, who go around and destroy businesses, destroy cultures, destroy people's lives for their own benefit. Now, if you're as upset about that as I am, then yes, this is the place for you. Manipulators always get found out for who they are, but they don't always suffer the consequences. And I think that it's hard for us to see that there really are 2 paths to the top. If you want to move up in your career, I'll use an analogy. You can either use the light side of the force or the dark side of the force. And the dark side of leadership really is this: the ability to manipulate people to your needs and wants without concern for the greater good of the environment. That is manipulation. The ability to inspire and grow teams that lean into each other and work together and all are working towards doing great things for people, profit, and planet. That's leadership. Leadership, manipulation, both of them lead to the top. One is the one that actually makes you feel like you can wake up in the morning and stare at yourself in the mirror and be proud of what you see. And one is empty and devoid and cold. You have a choice. You can move up in one of these 2 ways. And you can kind of use manipulation tactics and leadership tactics to move up. I encourage you to lean into leadership. Lean into being an authentic version of yourself, being empathetic to the wants and needs of everyone around you, and be audacious. Be willing to take risks, calculated risks that lead to something really great. If you can do those things, then you can be a great leader. If you do these other things, if you want to be manipulative, I can't help you, but you might be successful anyway. But I'm not sure how you're going to feel about yourself waking up in the morning. So my advice to you is to go be a great leader, and don't be like my former colleague who became my boss, wrecked my career, ruined a fantastic technology opportunity, took everything, ran it straight into the dirt, and now is off somewhere polluting some other pool. And when you do run into those people, be willing to understand what they are and feel a little bit of pity for them, because they'll never be able to feel the sense of community and connection that you feel. This is the difference between leaders and manipulators. Manipulators will always be alone. Leaders will never be alone. I hope this video was helpful. I literally spilled tea today, and my purpose was not to shame anybody. It was to demonstrate that you will run into these people in your life, and you have to learn how to deal with them. And you have to understand that there are 2 ways to the top. One is through leadership, one is through manipulation. I encourage you to learn leadership the ways that I've learned it, and instead avoid and push away from all of the manipulation tactics that other people would show you as a quick way to the top. Again, I hope this video was helpful to you, and I will see you in another one.